Good morning. Welcome, everyone, to the White House. We are delighted to have you here for the launching of this very special effort on behalf of children. I'm especially pleased that we could be joined today by Secretary Donna Shalala and Secretary Dick Riley and Harris Wofford with their commitments to education and health and human services and national service. They are very much interested in what we are doing here. A few months ago, the President and I had the privilege of taping a public service announcement produced by the Advertising Council and the Coalition for America's Children. In a few minutes, we'll be previewing the final product, a 60-second message that will be shown on television stations across the country. The message is very simple. Every one of us has a role to play in making sure all children grow up with the love, support, and opportunities they need to fulfill their God-given potentials. While parents first and foremost have the responsibility for raising their children, few parents can do it alone. Every day, children are learning habits and values not just at home, but in classrooms and in daycare centers, on playgrounds and on neighborhood streets. They're learning from grandparents and godparents, from aunts and uncles, teachers and friends, and like it or not, from TVs, movies, music, commercials. So it's important for every one of us to support parents as we take on the toughest job in the world, raising healthy, well-adjusted, well-educated, and compassionate children. And every one of us has the talent, time, and resources to share with children and families who need them most, whether it's as an after-school tutor, a mentor, or a community advocate. Over the years, I've had the privilege of witnessing firsthand what happens when people in a community band together to work on behalf of children. I have visited schools in some of our toughest neighborhoods that are working for children because people from the community joined hands with teachers and others who are educating on the front lines to make sure that children were given the chances they need to become who they can. I'd like to thank the advertising industry for recognizing the crucial role it could play in inspiring all Americans to do our part on behalf of our children. I thank the Advertising Council for bringing a wealth of creative energy and vision to this project and for dedicating their next decade of advertising to improving the well-being of our children. I'd also like to thank the Advertising Council's partner in this effort, the Coalition for America's Children, for all they do every day to improve the lives of children. Christine Bonero, the Coalition's chair, is with us today and will tell us more about her organization and the website that will be mentioned in the PSA. She will be joined here by Bradley Pine and Lonzo Warren, who will describe how what was supposed to be a 9-month mentor-student relationship turned into a true friendship that has enriched both their lives for more than 7 years. Lonzo will also introduce the PSA, and the President will close this morning's event. But first, let me welcome to the podium Alex Kroll, the chair of the Advertising Council, who has brought to bear so much creative energy and time to make this happen. He will explain to us more about his organization's new decade-long campaign on behalf of America's children. Mr. Kroll.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Clinton, Mr. President. Mrs. Clinton, distinguished guests, good morning. We're very grateful to you, Mr. President, and to the First Lady for appearing in our advertising. Thanks to you, Mrs. Clinton, almost everybody now knows that it takes a village to raise a child. However, it only takes 2 people, 2, if they happen to be you and the President, to raise consciousness to any vital issue. And this is one that we're here to discuss this morning, and one I know that's dear to your hearts. Actually, there's a wonderful symmetry to this meeting this morning because it was almost exactly 55 years ago that the Advertising Council got its first assignment in a spot very near here. The War Office and the White House accepted the Advertising Council's offer to put its talents to work in the war effort. And out of that came those wonderful slogans like loose lips sink ships and successful bond drives. In fact, it worked so well that after the war, the Ad Council stayed in business and turned its attention to domestic duties, and over a period of time, successfully taking a bite out of crime and urging people to buckle up and not let their friends drive drunk, or reminding us that a mind is a terrible thing to waste, recruiting for the Peace Corps, and lots of other good causes, and of course, inventing the world's most popular and cuddly forest ranger. Now, we've taken a radical step and decided to devote the next decade to children's issues, because so many of our smallest citizens have the poorest quality of life. We've worked to develop advertising campaigns for programs to make those children smarter, safer, stronger, even more self-reliant. But the ads you're going to see here today are part of the campaign that is the core of our entire effort, the central piece of it. Because this is the one that deals with the mean prejudice that keeps so many Americans from helping kids. Now, let me explain. Over the last several years, the Advertising Council has become more than a producer or provider of advertising. It's become a center of learning or understanding about how to communicate to and about children and families. Ruth Wooden and her energetic staff are constantly doing new research, fresh analysis into those issues. And they have found that the public, many in the public, are mad at parents. They're mad at them. They blame them for all of those vile statistics that they read about kids. They fault them for their irresponsibility, negligence, or maybe plain selfishness and worse. So they're stuck. They don't know how to help the kids that are in need without helping these parents that they don't like. And so too many of them turn away, do nothing, and turn their backs on the kids. And that is really a sad perversion of their natural caring instincts. And it's wrong, because we know that beneath those easy stereotypes, the vast majority of American parents are working very hard, trying very hard to raise decent kids under stresses and pressures that would beat down the best of us. But if you don't believe that, if you think that parents are the problem, then it's highly unlikely that you want them as part of the solution. And that really hurts, because we know that the strongest programs, the ones that last the longest, like Head Start, involve parents. Ask any teacher what the involvement of a parent means in school. I think except in extreme cases, if you really want programs that help the kids, we've got to make parents part of them. Now, the Ad Council is committed to beating down these malignant stereotypes about parents and freeing millions more people to volunteer to help kids. This advertising that the President and the First Lady have done will help us so much, and I thank them again. It's just wonderful. I know how close this issue is to their hearts. I also want to thank our directors, outstanding business leaders, some of whom came down here this morning, for their vigorous support of this strategy. I want to thank our benefactors, Bob Allen and AT&T, who gave us $3 million over 3 years for this campaign, and the Packard Foundation that gave us $600,000 for 2 years. Their support made these ads possible. And of course, thank the tireless team from Young and Rubicam, whose talent made this advertising great. And lastly, a bow to our partners, the Benton Foundation, the Coalition for America's Children, the latter being merely tens of thousands of good Americans out there who've thrown their bodies against the problems of kids and families without a lot of applause, often without a lot of support, working wonders, doing what they can with what they've got. I tell you, you inspire us and you give us hope. And now I'd like to turn the meeting and the podium over to the gracious chairperson of that organization, Christine Bonero.
Much better. Mr. President, Mrs. Clinton, Mr. Kroll, distinguished guests. It is my pleasure to speak with you today as chair of the Coalition for America's Children, a national alliance of more than 350 organizations bound together by a common commitment to improve the lives of American children, and by a powerful and energizing website, Kids Campaigns, created by the Benton Foundation. It may seem odd that I mention a website as an important thread for the coalition, but I do so deliberately. Kids Campaigns is more than a creative and useful website. It is also an absolute symbol of the coalition's mission to connect people who want to act on behalf of kids and to give them the tools they need. The coalition exists to bring change to children's lives in the areas of health, education, safety, and economic security by serving as the public education arm of the children's movement. Through voter education campaigns about children's lives and needs, we inspire the American people to debate and discuss how we can best make our communities work for kids and support parents. Today, this task means the skillful use of contemporary technology, and the Kids Campaign website exemplifies this. On Kids Campaigns, the global village comes to life. Here, everyone and anyone who cares about children, parents, grandparents, civic leaders, the media, children's advocates, can find out how to get started working for children, how to get smart about their needs, and how to get connected to hundreds of groups that know how to make a difference. We could not do this without the hands and the hearts that are reflected in the women and the men who represent the coalition at its best, some of whom who are here today. People like Dr. Jim Dirth, a pediatric oncologist who is on the front lines of delivering appropriate and specialized care to children. Dennis Johnson, whose Children's Health Fund vans reach out across the country to bring health care to some of the nation's poorest, most isolated children. Kyle Zimmer and First Book, who in the last year alone distributed 500,000 new books to children who would have never had a chance to own and read their first new book. Together, the 350 organizations of the coalition make a difference. The work of advocates for children is changing the way American people think about children's needs and who is responsible for meeting them. The conventional wisdom is to believe that children's issues are relatively insignificant in the public's mind. The coalition's recent national poll, Great Expectations: How American Voters View Children's Issues, shatters that notion. For the first time, children's issues ranked first among a list of key concerns that influenced voter support for presidential and congressional candidates in the 1996 election. This poll showed that more than 8 out of 10 voters, an astonishing 84%, identified children's issues as important in driving their actions in the voting booth. 88% say they are watching congressional performance on children's issues. These numbers mean that at last, people understand that children's needs cannot wait, and they are prepared to put their votes where their commitments are. So thank you, President Clinton, Mrs. Clinton, for believing that change for kids is possible, for believing in the power of the American people to make that happen, and for your support of the Coalition for America's Children. You have brought us a long way, and we are very grateful and honored. Thank you to the Advertising Council for your outstanding 10-year commitment to improving children's lives. Your creative talents and energy are irreplaceable, and we are delighted to be a small part of what you're doing. And most importantly, thanks to our partner, the Benton Foundation. Your vision has nurtured this coalition and built a pioneering website that makes our dreams a reality. The great American writer Pearl Buck said, "If our American way of life fails the child, it fails us all." I know that the people in this room and the millions represented by the organizations that make up the coalition's membership will not let our way of life fail our children. They're counting on us. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. My name is Brad Pine, and this is Lonzo Warren. And we have been friends for a long time. And we're here today very excited to tell you a little bit about our friendship and to encourage everyone to give their time to young people in their communities. I want to thank the Coalition for America's Children, the Ad Council, the Benton Foundation, and especially the President and First Lady for their leadership in the most important endeavor we can undertake individually and together, raising our kids. Henry Adams, a 19th century American historian, wrote, "A teacher affects eternity. He can never tell where his influence stops." And that notion that through our actions we can all have a positive impact on others' lives is why I chose to become a mentor. When I made my initial commitment to serve as a tutor and mentor at the Community of Hope, which is a community center and shelter serving a crime-ridden and impoverished neighborhood here in DC, I agreed to spend 9 months, 1 hour each week, reading and doing homework with a young person who would be assigned to me. At that point, I had no idea that it would lead to a friendship that would last for more than 7 years. When I think back, I realize I was wary of what I was getting into. I was full of stereotypes, unsure whether the kids would accept me, and unsure whether I really thought I could be a mentor. But with Lonzo's help, I've learned that I can do a lot more than I thought. Probably the most important thing that I've learned, and most relevant to the Coalition's kids campaigns and the Ad Council's advertising campaign, is that every parent and every child, no matter what their situation, can benefit from the support of caring adults from outside their family. Lonzo, for example, is not from a broken home. It's true that his parents, both of whom are here today, have very little money and live in a neighborhood where drugs and crime are prevalent. But they care deeply for Lonzo and his sister Michelle and work very hard to provide for them. In fact, it was their insistence that he participate in the mentoring program that brought us together and brought me to their family as a friend and as a resource. When Lonzo and I first met, I never thought that we would become so involved with each other's lives, that I'd be so proud to have Lonzo as my friend, that I would look forward to the days when he came over to our house to hang out and play with our young children, that my wife and I would talk to his mom about advice on raising our babies. I never expected to be sitting with him in the waiting room of the Prince George's County Hospital when after his father's kidney failure, wondering what the future would hold. But Lonzo now is part of my life, and I'm part of his. And every time I drop him off at his apartment after we've finished doing homework or playing basketball, watching a movie, or filling out job applications, which is important these days with the summer coming up, I'm always struck by how much I truly like him and how fortunate it was for me that I decided to volunteer as a mentor and ended up matched with a skinny little 7-year-old boy who asked me the first day as we were looking at a globe together, "Have you ever been to Paris? Do people shoot each other there?" I don't want to mislead you about what it's like to be a mentor. It's not all been wonderful or poignant or perfect. There have been times when Lonzo's been exasperated with me or I frustrated with him. And there have been a lot of days when our educational activities were comprised of a trip to the store for ice cream and an afternoon flipping the channels on the TV. But what we have achieved together is that which I covet most. We are just regular friends. We share fun times and not so fun times. We help each other. We learn from each other. We talk on the phone about the things that happened that day. We talk about his plans for the future, for college, for a career. And we both hope that other people have the opportunity to do the same. And a resource like the Kids Campaign, like the new public service announcement, the website, and the new 800 number will be incredibly valuable in helping other people to find someone to support them in their life, like I found Lonzo. So as you can see, the skinny little boy has grown up. He lifts weights, he has girlfriends, he knows more about math and computers than most of us. And in part as a result of our relationship, he's been awarded a scholarship that if he keeps up with his school and stays out of trouble, which we expect he will, it'll help him go to college. And I'm very proud of him. So now I'd like to introduce to you Lonzo Warren, who'd like to say a few words.
Hello, my name is Lonzo Warren. I am a 15-year-old student at High Point High School in Hyattsville, Maryland. Brad and I have been working together for the past 7.5 years. We do homework together, play basketball, and sometimes go to the movies. During the summers, I sometimes help Brad at his work. Our friendship is very important to me. We have learned a lot together. Last year was very hard for me and my family. We moved 3 times and I changed schools twice. My father also suffered total kidney failure and now takes regular dialysis. Brad was with us through everything. We were really glad he was there to help. My friendship with Brad means a lot to me, but I also want to thank my mom, my dad, and my sister, who also helped me a lot. Thank you. And now here's the new public service announcement.
Every day, I try my best to meet the challenges that come with doing the toughest job in the world. If I fail, the consequences could be serious. That job isn't being president, it's being a parent.
And today, with drugs and all the other pressures facing our children, it's tougher than ever to be a good parent. It's a job that none of us can do alone. That's why 350 wonderful organizations have come together to create the Coalition for America's Children to help parents raise good kids.
The Coalition knows hundreds of ways you can help. Whether you're a young adult who can serve as a role model for troubled teens, or a retired person who can supervise an after-school program, the Coalition can help you get involved right in your own community. We hope you will contact the Coalition soon and find a role that fits your schedule and your interests. You can make a difference. Thank you.
I want to thank the President and the First Lady for helping kids too, and for inviting me and my family here today. And now I would like to introduce the President of the United States.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I want to thank all those who have been a part of this. Alex Kroll, thank you for what you said and for reminding us that we're about the business of helping parents, not disrespecting the difficulties they face. Christine Bonero, thank you. Eva Caston, the Executive Vice President of the Advertising Council, thank you. I thank the Benton Foundation, the AT&T Foundation, the Packard Foundation. I'd like to thank the people in our administration probably most directly involved in helping our children who are here today, Secretary Riley, Secretary Shalala, and Harris Wofford, the head of the Corporation for National Service. But most of all, I want to thank Bradley Pine and Lonzo Warren for coming here to share their story. Their relationship is a powerful example of what could be done all over America if we move from vague rhetoric to specific action directed at helping and supporting all of our children. Just think of what would happen in this country if every single child who needed a mentor had one. Think of what would happen if every person out there who is willing to volunteer to help knew where to go and how to do it. The public service message we just saw that Hillary and I were honored to participate in is simply designed to remind every American that there are children out there who need our support, and to tell every American who wants to serve that there is a way to serve and we will help you do it. We know that being a parent is the most difficult and important job in the world. And we know that everyone has to help. Hillary has been working on these children's issues since before I met her a long time ago now. And I think that the book that she wrote did capture the image of the village raising our children. but it should not be allowed to obscure the fact that what that really means is that each and every one of us has a personal responsibility to do our part. And also, thanks to this effort, it will be easier for people to understand how to exercise that responsibility. I'm especially fond of the work that we have done in this regard. We've done all we could to encourage citizen service. We now have more than 50,000 young people working in AmeriCorps, earning money to go to college. Many, many of them are helping our children in supportive ways. Last summer, we launched our America Reads program to try to mobilize 1 million volunteer tutors in America to make sure that by the year 2000, every single 8-year-old in this country can read independently and will have a chance to make the most of his or her education. Today, I am pleased to announce that Scholastic Books is donating 1 million books to help us reach that goal. We need more companies like Scholastic Books to give more Americans the opportunity to serve. In January, I was proud to stand right here with President Bush and General Colin Powell and former Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Henry Cisneros, to announce that we are convening the first ever President's Summit of Service in April in Philadelphia to bring together business, religious, community leaders committed to support citizen service with resources and volunteers. With their help, I hope we can make the plea we make in this public service announcement a reality for tens of thousands of more people in the United States. This public service announcement is just what it seems to be. It seeks to help in mobilizing a volunteer force of Americans. It reflects the wisdom that no impersonal bureaucracy can ever replace the magic that we saw here between Bradley and Lorenzo, or the feeling that Lorenzo expressed for his own family who are here with him today. What we can do is to make it possible for more things like that to happen and to give our children the basic supports they need to make it happen. But in the end, we must make this vast, big, complicated society of ours more of a society in which we all feel that we should volunteer, and like Bradley, we know we're going to be better off for doing it. We'll get more out of it than we give. We have to create the networks to facilitate that kind of volunteerism. The public service announcement, as you saw, gives people a number to call, a website to visit, to learn about organizations in their very own communities where they can volunteer their time to become a reading tutor or a math coach or a mentor to a child in need. Beginning today, anyone visiting the White House homepage on the internet will be able to connect to the Coalition's website with just a click of the mouse and find out what they can do to help. The more people this message reaches, the more children will be helped. So far, some of our biggest television, cable, and radio networks have committed to air this message during times when it will have the best chance of inspiring the largest number of people. Newsweek, the New York Times, and People magazine will also run the message in their pages, and moviegoers will see it in theaters all over the country thanks to promotion slide and cinema advertisers. This is a very good start. But let me encourage other media organizations around the country to help to make sure this message is heard by as many people as possible, to help to work with us to encourage the spirit of service in America, to strengthen our families, to improve the lives of our children, one at a time. Whenever you think about what else we can do, just think of Bradley and Lonzo and multiply it by millions and imagine the America we can make together. Thank you. God bless you.